Hey everybody, welcome back. In this video, we're going to be talking about something that's really crucial for your puppy's development, and that is improving their mental endurance. We are doing a lot of work to teach specific, what I call positional commands. Go to your bed, click and treat. Go inside your kennel, click and treat. Sit, paw, lay down. Whatever those obedience tasks are, we usually are reinforcing pretty quickly and pretty consistently. Now, as your puppy continues to grow and continues to mature, it's really important that we start to look at a different side of those obedience tasks, which is the duration that we're expecting them to hold that position or that command. Demonstrate now how to use the kennel to start increasing that mental duration, increasing the impulse control, and then ultimately giving us more freedom with our puppy to be able to involve them more into the family. So just like every time that we get them out of the kennel, we want to practice that impulse control at the door. So some things you're going to need up front are you're going to need some treats or their food, you're going to need your clicker or your marker, and then we're going to want a leash. I recommend getting something longer. I prefer a nice 10-foot leash. A 15-foot leash can help as well. If you only have a 4 to a 6-foot leash, that's totally fine, but you're going to see throughout this demonstration that distance is our friend, and distance is the key to teaching our dog how to be successful in real life environments. That's what we're training for, right? So as we approach this, everything starts off the same. Hopefully you're doing it this way every time your dog comes out of the kennel, is we open up the kennel door, and that is not an invitation to run out right now. So I'm actually going to rotate this so that way you guys can see it a little bit clearly. So when we reach in here, we hook up our dog to the leash, and that's going to help us ensure that our words are meaningful to our puppy. And it's going to ultimately help us when we start going outdoors. But most importantly right now, teaches our dogs that our words mean something, and it makes communication more clear for everybody. One thing I want you to know is as I open the kennel door, Rush assumes that down position, but he is still a loaded spring. He's still very excited to go, but through this conditioning and through these practices, that's where you know you're on the right track, is when your dog within a few seconds, it was within 10 to 15 seconds, defaults into that down position without me having to tell him to. That just shows that we are really focusing on that with our pups, and that tells you that you're on the right track when your dog sees an open door and then chooses to lay down versus bolt out of it, okay? This drill not only increases the mental endurance like we talked about, but it's going to start actually teaching your dog what no means, okay? Your puppy may understand what no means, and hopefully that gets them to stop doing what they're doing. But having the leash on allows us to follow through, and it really imprints what that no marker means. Just like our yes and our clicker are so powerful for teaching, the no is so powerful for teaching your dog what's allowed and what's not allowed. So we have our leash hooked up so that way we can follow through with our commands, and we can start to give our dogs leash guidance in these contexts to be able to teach them right from wrong, how to control the impulses, how to follow through. So the first step, as you open the kennel door, you may need to use this as your barrier, your enforcer. So it's very clear to the dog, and should be to you, what is allowed and what's not. Everyone always asks that. Right now, Rush's paws are hanging out of the front of the kennel. That is still okay because they're on plastic, they're not on the floor. If he were to reach out further though and put his feet on the floor, that's my boundary of saying, no buddy, go back into your kennel. So as long as he's not on the wood or carpet beneath the kennel, he's good. The kennel helps us create just really solid boundaries, and it only has one way in, one way out. This is why I love starting with the kennel versus the place bed or the dog pen, which we're going to demonstrate after this. So once we have that kennel door open, I have my leash on, you can go ahead and start reinforcing for things that you like. I like Rush waiting for this long. I'm going to go ahead and mark, take my time, grab a piece of kibble out, and go ahead and give him a treat. Remember, it's not a race, and we're not reaching for the treats at the same time. It's click first or mark with yes. And then we can go in and give our dog that reinforcement. So we're still going to turn on the reinforcements when we like what we see. But the next step is we have to start teaching this dog that movement from me means nothing. That's the key that I want my dog to understand in this drill. So right now I'm shuffling around and I'm hanging out, and I can mark that. We have two things that I want you to work on is time and then your movements, okay? So time means if you open up the kennel door and stand right here and don't move for 30 seconds and then your dog runs out, you have a time issue. You didn't do anything different on your end, but within 30 seconds, your dog decided to run out. So that means that you have to work on keeping your dog in here longer before letting them out. If you constantly make your dog wait for 15 seconds and then release, 15 seconds and then go eat your food, 15 seconds and then come out the back door, you're creating a time pattern that your dog is going to rely on and pick up on, and they're going to have that 15-second fuse mentally. So we have that time to worry about, and then we also have movement. So as I'm communicating with my dog, I want you guys to be aware of what you're doing with your body. If you have your phone out right now and you're texting and I'm not facing Rush and I'm just scrolling on social media, your dog obviously can tell that you're not really paying attention to it, that you're not engaged. So to use our body appropriately and effectively, we want to be squared up to our dog at the beginning, and we want to know how to apply spatial pressure. So just like we talked about at the beginning of introducing the kennel, if we tell the dog, come, and we back away, that's going to, kennel, elicit our dog to follow us. That's spatial pressure. If our dog, no, kennel, follows us when we don't want him to, I use the spatial pressure in the opposite way where I say no, and I back up into them. We're doing the same thing with the kennel door. No, and I close this up on them. So throughout this drill, if your dog comes out, I want you to try to be quick with the no marker first verbally, and then we apply that spatial body pressure. And then we have our leash there as an additional tool for us. So when we're starting to add movement, you're most likely going to be here when you open up the kennel door. And then we can move one way, reward. Now maybe a couple shuffle steps this direction, reward. And I'm keeping my body squared up to my puppy the whole time. That way if they start to step out, no, I can close that distance, apply that no, spatial pressure, always marking verbally first and then applying either spatial or leash pressure or a combination. Once they're pretty good with this, you can go all the way around them. You can mix it up and go however is challenging for your dog. Now, if I move 2 steps to my left and it causes my dog to run out, I'm going to mark it no, I'm going to reset them, and then I'm going to do the exact same thing again. So if they messed up with 2 steps to the left, I reset them, and then I do another 2 steps to the left until they're okay with it. The more mistakes they make at the beginning that you can quickly reset, the quicker your dog is ultimately going to learn this and understand it and be comfortable with it. We want to get to the point where I can do something like this, where I'm turning away from them, I'm relaxing my body posture. This is much more of a natural representation of how we move around our home and how we move through our day-to-day activity. And that's ultimately what I'm training my dog for, is that I can move around freely throughout the home and my dog does not feel the need to follow me, to be right on my heels, to get anxious or do their own thing. I just want him waiting comfortably for me to give him the next task to do. So once we get to this stage, we can lower the leash down, open up random doors. These are all just things I'm doing to try to get my dog to ultimately be successful with. If your dog fails at something, just repeat it. Just do it again multiple times until your dog's comfortable with it and they don't take that as a signal. Now that could teach you something. If my dog bolts out of the kennel when I open up the door, that might teach you that you're opening up the door and letting your dog run out too often. And so your dog is learning that that's the cue for, running out uncontrollably out of the room. So this is how I want you to approach the mental endurance part. Now, once my dog is good with this, you can literally leave this leash draped over the kennel door like that. You can sit down at your coffee table. You can sit down at your desk over here on the other side of the room and start working. You can then sit down on your chair here and get on social media, watch TV. No, kennel. And just like that, good learning point. All I do is tell him no kennel, and he responded to that, no. But your puppy at the early stages may not. You may need to say no kennel and bring them back with the leash and put them inside there. He has the ability that he can lay down on command, but for you, you're just going to let them figure this out on their own, especially when they're really young. You're not going to have the ability to tell them to down yet. So don't waste your words. But once he gets frustrated enough that he can't come out, and we reset them enough times, they will settle into the down on their own, I promise you. Now the textbook statement is if they come out 100 times, we mark it with a no and reset them into their kennel 101 times. This is where we start to win that battle of wills. This is where we start to teach our dog that they need to have that mental endurance, that they need to wait patiently for our commands and our cues and not get impulsive on their own. So he settles into the down. It's almost feeding time for them. They're getting excited. You're going to see that your dog settles quicker with different periods of time throughout the day. So the more you do this, the better they're going to get at it and the quicker they're going to settle. If you're looking at inserting this into your daily routine, this is really, really productive after a good solid session of play and activity and exercise. So they're getting that exercise, they're getting that crazy out, we've chased the ball a bunch. Now we're going to go in and maybe on days that you work from home or on weekends when you're more available, you put your dog in the kennel, but this time you leave the leash on, you leave the door open and you're watching them. And we're watching them because we don't want them to chew the leash up. We don't want them to sneak out of here on their own when we're not paying attention to them. So this does require supervision, but this can be the next level besides just putting them in the kennel, draping the sheet and shutting the door. This should be the next step right here of mental endurance, complexity, markers with your no, and showing them that, hey, I can move around the house and do my thing, and it doesn't involve you following me or getting anxious or getting dependent on me. So try this. Let me know if you have any questions. Good luck, and we'll see you in the next one.